Geeks with beards. Podcast.
Chicago. Ordinary cops were losing the battle. The criminal mastermind called Overlord and his super freaks held our city in their terrifying grip. Then, a miracle happened. When I found him, he had no memory of his past. I helped him find an identity and a life. Now we have a fighting chance. Now we have the Dragon.
Everybody, and welcome back to a new episode of the Geeks with Beards podcast. And on this episode, we will be covering 1992's Savage Dragon miniseries 1 through 3 from Erik Larsen. He created it, he wrote it, and as of right now, I think it's still going like 280 plus issues, man. That is ridiculous. But before we get into that exciting stuff, let's get caught up a little bit. What has been going on with you since the last episode, man?
As far as fun stuff, we just played a festival this past weekend, so that was pretty cool.
Hell yeah, man.
Other than that, busy. What about you?
Well, let's see. Wasn't that you were on a podcast not too long ago,
yes.
weren't you? Yeah.
I do want to talk about that. Podcast with my friend Paula is called Alabaster, A Broken Jar. Mm-hmm. And she's a legit therapist. So she asked me if I wanted to participate in talking about suicide awareness and mental health, and I was like, yeah, of course.
Hell yeah, dude.
Because she's going to guest speak at one of our March Out of Darkness suicide awareness events.
Oh, sweet.
So, yeah, I'm going to put a link on our socials, and I'll put it in the description if you guys want to check it out.
That'd be awesome, man.
It was a good discussion. It has a lot of good tips at the end.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's definitely a subject that needs to be out there more. You know, it's one of those kind of, it's like I don't want to say taboo, but kind of is still a little bit. People are a little shy, I guess, maybe to bring it up, I guess, a little bit. So it definitely needs to be out there in the public eye more for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely got a stigma still.
It does, for sure. Unfortunately, a lot more younger people are affected by it. Well, I can't say a lot, but I think it affects young people a lot more sometimes than it does older people, I think.
Actually, you'd be surprised in the statistics she gave on the episode. Mm-hmm. Older people just as much.
Really?
If not more, yeah.
Okay.
And we always thought it was like around Christmas time, like the worst time of the year. They said no.
Really?
It was like in the springtime. Which is odd.
Yeah, I would have always thought holidays because, laws and stuff like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Very insightful. Hell yeah. As for myself, excuse me. As for myself, I was on a couple podcasts, but mine were movie review related. Talked about the Return of Swamp Thing on B Action. That one's already out now. And then I was on Dissect That Film. We talked about one of the Underworld movies, the last one, Blood Wars, and it should be, as of this recording, it should drop Friday or Saturday, I believe.
Awesome. We'll throw those in the show notes
Hell
too.
Yeah. Other than that, just read a couple comics, went to Free Comic Book Day on May 3rd, got one thing, and grabbed a stack of Savage Dragon comics cause the whole store was like 20% off. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna grab some comics while I'm up here, 20% off. I'm up here once a year. Why not? So that was my little journey, but since our last episode. So yeah, we're going to jump into this one. Like I said, it's Savage Dragon miniseries from 1992 by Erik Larsen. And, this is pretty cool. This is my first time ever reading Savage Dragon. I really enjoyed it. Other than the animated series, it's the only exposure I ever had to it back in the 90s. Because again, like I said, in our Spawn episode and our Wildcats episode, Images was something that I didn't read in the 90s. I was DC mostly in the 90s. So getting to read this, I'm like, all right, cool. And as Erik Larsen says in the back of one of these issues, you can tell that, he didn't go to the Comic Code Authority. He's just like, fuck it. like, we didn't really have to report to them at the time or whatever. He's like, so I just didn't. He said, I just didn't do it. So
I'll comment on that part later.
hell yeah. All right, let's get into it. All right, we open with Dragon, and he's fighting a character named Cutthroat. Now, if I get these names wrong, I apologize, because again, like I said, this was my first time reading, so I'm just going by what Erik wrote in the comics. But so yeah, he's fighting this guy named Cutthroat in attempted bank robbery. And Glowbug, a female character, I guess she's the partner of Cutthroat, tries to help him. She gets knocked out with Dragon. Dragon just like, brr! He just takes her out, man. Yeah, Dragon him and Cutthroat get into a fight. They keep going back and forth like that, and he gets whooped. Dragon whoops his ass, basically, and he asks him, he's like, Dragon looks at him, he's like, you should give up. Cutthroat's like, why would I give up? Dragon just looks at him, he's like, because I said so. He said it's your best interest because I said so. So yeah, after that we cut to a flashback. And there's a couple of flashbacks in this, which is really cool because that kind of gives you a hint to Dragon's past a little bit. But we cut to a flashback with Dragon, and he's in an empty, vacant lot. And he's naked, and he's laying in like the fetal position on the ground, and he's surrounded by fire.
It's like a very Terminator type of
Definitely. Intro. Yeah, kind of a Terminator-ish kind of thing. And he wakes up in a hospital with Lieutenant Frank Darling of the Chicago Police Department. And Frank's asked him a whole bunch of questions. He's like, who are you? Where'd you come from? And Dragon's like, I don't know. He's like, I really don't know. I don't remember anything about myself. He's like, I don't know my name. I don't know where I come from. I don't know anything. And Frank tells him, he's like, yeah, he said, we just found you in a burning empty lot, naked. He said, I was hoping you'd be able to tell me something. But what's curious about this is Frank asks him other facts about the world and stuff. Like he asked him who the president is. He asked him, when did the Cubs win the last World Series? And Dragon's able to answer those right on cue. No hesitation, no nothing. But when it comes to himself, he don't know shit. He has no personal knowledge of himself whatsoever. So we cut to Frank, and he's talking to his wife about Dragon. And that's how he's referenced in the comic. It's just Dragon.
Because his appearance is...
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, if nobody's read this, he's big, muscular, green like the Hulk, bald, and he's got basically a fin on the top of his head.
Looks like a mohawk type.
Yeah, it's a mohawk thing, but it's like a fin. Yeah, like a reptile kind of fin on his head. And so, yeah, that's how he's referenced. He's just referenced as Dragon. That's what they call him. At least from what I've read so far. Again, like I said, this is like 280 issue comic right now. So he's talking to his wife, Frank he's about Dragon. And there's a report comes on television about another superhero named Super Patriot, who is in critical condition and has been attacked by what they call in this comic super freaks. Now they are the villains of the universe, at least as of right now that I've read. And they are what they're called, super freaks. They're just all weird looking, individuals. They're bestial looking, they're reptilian looking, they're robotic looking or whatever, they're just freaks, And Frank he's just depressed because Super Patriot was kind of, I don't know if you call him their Superman, but he's like one of their top dudes or whatever, one of the top heroes, one of the last ones. And Frank's like, what are we going to do? He's like, Patriot's gone. He's like, we're losing the war against the Super Patriots or the Super Freaks. He's like, the police can't fight them. He's like, we're just human beings. We can't do this. So he's thinking to himself, well, maybe I can get Dragon to help us. He's one of these super people. Maybe I can get him to help me in the police department. So he has Dragon to help the police department fight the Super Freaks because of his power and his strength. And Dragon just says, nah, I ain't interested. And he's like, what? Why would I help you? He's like, it didn't affect me anything. And it's like, I don't owe you anything. But Frank does get him a job working with his cousin. And we find out that actually was, Frank had a little bit of a purpose behind doing that. And we'll figure that out here in a little bit. But, so he gets a job for Dragon with his cousin at like a dockyard or a warehouse or something like that, I believe it was. And, later at night at the warehouse where Dragon's working, him and Frank's cousin gets attacked by two super freaks. But Dragon, he stops them. Like he whoops on them, because he's befriended Frank's cousin, you know, and everything like that. Because we don't really know how much time has passed, maybe a couple of months or something, not really sure. And you find out that the freaks were there just to rob Frank's cousin, and his name was Fred. Well, Fred gets a little upset. He's like, look, dude, look what you did. You destroyed the warehouse. You destroyed property. He said, why didn't you just let them rob me? He said, hell, I could take losing the money over the property damage and my warehouse getting tore up. And Dragon's like, well, you're welcome. I saved your life. You're welcome. He's like, yeah. He's like, but now, he said that you whooped up on them. He said, now they're going to come back. And he said, they may kill me now. He said, if you just let them take the money, he said, they probably would just left me alone and never returned. And Dragon's like, look, he's I ain't gonna let nothing happen to you. I'll protect you. Nobody's gonna hurt you. And then, like, just as soon as he says that shit, dude, that warehouse, it blows to hell. Boom! It blows up. And of course, Dragon, he pretty much can survive any kind of damage to his body. And he heals pretty quick. He's got, not Wolverine quick healing, but he can heal pretty fast. And there's very little that can hurt him. He takes damage, but it doesn't really seem to affect him that much. So yeah, then we cut back to Frank after that explosion. That was a great panel in the comic too, that explosion was. But we cut back to Frank, and he's watching the news, and he sees that another hero named Mighty Man has been killed by the Super Freaks. And he is just like, oh my God. He's like, what the hell are we going to do? He's like, these heroes are just falling off the face of the earth one after the other. He's like, we are not going to be able to win this war. So Dragon shows up and he tells him what happened to the warehouse and what happened to his cousin Fred. And I love what Erik Larsen does here. He draws Frank to where he gives that kind of like that suspicious side eye look. Like, you son of a bitch. You had something to do with this, didn't you? Like, you asshole. You know? And because he doesn't seem like he's too upset about it. He's like, oh, you know, that kind of thing. And Dragon says, he's like, look, he's like, I'll join the police department. And he says, I'll help you out. He said, I'll help you fight the Super Freaks now. Because, you know, they killed Fred. You know, they killed a friend of mine. And so Dragon shows up the next day, and he's got the police uniform on, you know, the blue shirt and the pants and everything. He's got his badge on. He shows up at a hostage scene. And he leaps into the house. And there's about 20 guys in there, and they start shooting at him, and I think Dragon kills most of them, it looks like. And cause again, this comic is very violent, very violent, very graphic. So yeah, I think Dragon kills most of them, and except for about one who is, stopped by another hero named Star. And, this character, I don't know, that long hair, it took me out for a minute when I seen him and he flew in that long, was it red hair, brown hair? I don't remember now, but it's like kind of curly looking or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So we see that, and this is getting toward the end of the first issue. So after all that happens, we see that there are 4 villains watching Dragon on television. And they are saying that, what did he say here? Oh, they're saying that, hey, we introduced, you know, that they're watching Dragon and they're like, yeah, I think we can take this dude out. You know, we're some bad guys right now. And we introduced to them, and their name is Hellraiser, what else? Basher and Mako. And they're all members of a group called the Vicious Circle, which is, I guess, like almost like a Legion is, was it like a Legion of Doom or something maybe?
Yeah.
Kind of like a group of...
Or a Sinister Six.
Yeah, kind of like a group of the Super Freaks or whatever, you know? Mm-hmm. So, that's the end of the first issue. And like I said, it was quick, but it would give you a little bit of a background, let you know that Dragon didn't know what was going on in his life. Like, he's just amnesia, has nothing.
Is he still as a construction worker at this point, or is he already done?
Oh, no, he's already a cop by this time. Yeah, because right after the warehouse got blew up and Fred died, that's when he went to see Frank, and he told Frank about it, and he's like, I'll help you.
Okay.
He said, I'll join the Chicago Police Department. He said, I'll help you fight the Super Freaks now.
I got you now. Because
I guess it made it personal. Beforehand, he didn't feel like he had anything in it. He's just like, whatever, I don't care. It came to his doorstep, for lack of a better term, I guess you could say, and it made it personal for him. So now he's like, yeah. He's like, I'll fuck them up now. He's like, I'll help you fight them. So issue 2 opens with Dragon in the sewer. and he's attempting to arrest a creature named Arachnid. And as the name describes, it's a huge ass like spider creature. And find out that this creature, the Arachnid, has been kidnapping and eating kids. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Erik Larsen, what the hell are you doing, man? And so Dragon and Arachnid, they fight back and forth. And Dragon throws Arachnid into the wall, severing an electrical cord, which is really cool because Erik actually kind of draws like almost like a zoomed in panel of the cord. Like he's like, yeah, this is the one we'll use.
Yeah.
Dragon's going to use this. So Dragon does use it. He uses the cord and he electrocutes Arachnid and knocks Arachnid out. Doesn't kill Arachnid, but knocks Arachnid out. And, unfortunately, he got there a little too late to save any kids because you basically kind of just see a few little skulls and stuff like that laying around, unfortunately. So then we cut into another flashback of Dragon, and he's getting ready to leave the hospital. And the nurse is calling him, and this is when he first gets called Dragon. The nurse calls him this. The nurse calls him Dragon for the very first time, and then we see this is where Lieutenant Frank offers him the job with his cousin to work at the warehouse. And then we cut back to modern time, which now see, this is where I felt a little bit like when I told you when we did the Transformers comic. It's not as confusing, but it likes to jump back and forth a little bit, which is fine. You know, it doesn't really confuse me as bad as it did before on the Transformers. But so then we cut back to present time, and Frank's talking to his wife about his cousin Fred's death, and she's like, "Well, look, so it's okay. It wasn't your fault. You know, it was just the super freaks, and unfortunately, this stuff happens." He's like, "No." He's like, "It's not okay." And he's like, my life is falling apart, and I don't know what to do. I'm like, yeah, bitch, karma.
Yeah.
Cause you find out, I'm going to spoil the end of the issue real quick. You find out Frank set this shit up with his cousin and Dragon just to get Dragon to join the police department and help them fight the super freaks because Dragon said no. So he got his cousin killed just to get the Dragon to help him fight the super freaks.
Pretty fucked up, man.
I'm a motherfucker. Like, you asshole. So then we go to another flashback and we see Dragon shooting a gun at the gun range, and he's impressing everybody. And he's like, I don't know how I'm able to shoot this good. Like he's hitting a target dead eye, man. He's not missing it at all. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I'm able to shoot these weapons like this so good. And then we go back to the present time, and we see that Super Patriot has been, what's the word I want to say? Acquired, obtained by a company named Cyber Data. And they are basically rebuilding him into a cyborg. So he didn't die as the first issue would previously make you think happened to him. Apparently, I guess now I can't say that for sure. If he did, maybe they're able to rebuild him and bring him back to life. But I took it as kind of RoboCop, kind of not, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's going to be a company man, working for Cyber Data, So Dragon makes the new apartment. And I love this, that Erik did this. It's not always action. We get a little bit of personal glimpses to Dragon's life a little bit too, Mm-hmm. And I hope that carries on as I read the series. So Dragon, he gets into a new apartment, and he's approached by a neighbor, named Debbie Harris. And she appears to be flirting with Dragon a little bit. And he kind of just ignores her. He's like, "Oh, I got an emergency. I got to go. Bye."
Mm-hmm.
But she is flirting with him. She is. She's
hardcore.
Oh,
yeah.
she's thirsty. She's fighting hard with him, man. And so Dragon shows up at a local mall where the three super freaks that we introduced at the end of the first issue are there. Hellraiser, Basher, and Mako. And I forget what the other two guys specifically look like. I know Mako is a shark human kind of hybrid creature, and I think Hellraiser, I think he has like some kind of blades or something on him, and Basher, I don't remember what Basher looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if you do or not. I can't remember what Basher looks like.
I don't.
Kind of a hulking creature maybe or something. I don't remember. But so they're at the mall and they've got hostages, and they said that they'll release all the hostages for Dragon. And Dragon's like, fuck it. He's like, he just busts right into the mall. Like, he ain't got no fear, man. And he just busts right into the mall, and they start fighting. And the Super Freaks start throwing hostages at the Dragon. They just start picking the hostages up and just tossing them at him. And he tells them, he tells the hostages, he's like, run. He's like, run, get the hell out of here if you can. And he goes after Hellraiser, who is, of course, how villains are sometimes. He's using a person as a shield, and it ain't an adult. He's using a kid as a human shield. He's using a fucking kid against a dragon as a human shield. I'm like, dude, you got huge ass blades on your arm. You don't need no shield, man. So Dragon, he leaps over him, and he punches Hellraiser to the ground. Mako and Basher join in, and Hellraiser takes his arm blades and he slashes Dragon right in the chest. And I mean, he opens him up, and he's bleeding bad. So Dragon stands up and he's trying to keep fighting. And Super Patriot shows up. He crashes through the wall and he starts shooting the Super Freaks. He actually kills Basher. Dragon tries stopping him, but Super Patriot is too strong, unfortunately, because, again, like he's like a cyborg now. And plus Dragon he's bleeding out pretty bad. Like I said, he got cut up pretty bad. And he finds out he's getting ready to attack the Dragon. And Dragon, he looks at Dragon. He's like, "Oh fuck, you're a cop." Okay, so I'm not going to hurt you. You're a cop. And
this is before fuck the police.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So he finds out that Dragon's a cop, so he doesn't attack him. And Dragon takes one big final double fist, kind of like Superman against Doomsday, at the head of Super Patriot. And Buddy passes out because of the severe blood loss, and the issue ends with Dragon laying on the floor of the mall and just a huge pool of blood coming out of him.
It's pretty gnarly.
Dude, like I said, man, this comic is graphic, man. I love it. It's graphic as hell.
It gives me The Boys vibes.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay, I've never read the comics. I only watched the series, so I'll have to take your word on that one.
Yeah. It's very more graphic and adult than most of the other comics we've came across.
I agree. I do agree to that for sure, man. Yeah. And I mean, we just got through covering, Daredevil, and I thought it was kind of graphic and dark. I'm like,
Yeah.
Which, granted, they were around the same time. Was it 92, 93? So, I mean, that was that era, I guess, So we jump into our final issue number 3 of this miniseries. And it picks up pretty much right at the end of 2. Dragon's at the hospital, and he's recovering from his attack by Hellraiser. And dude, he can't catch a break. He's in the hospital bed, and here comes this other super freak called Inferno. And again, as the name implies, this dude's got like fire powers or whatever. And so he starts attacking Dragon. Dragon beats him up, and he told what did I write down here? Okay, and he tells him, he said, Dragon, whoops his ass, and then he asked the nurse, he's like, "How long have I been out?" And she's like, "You've been out for like 9 days."
Jeez.
You've been out for about 9 days, Dragon. But he's almost fully healed. He just got very minor scars on his body now from that, and he got cut deep. So like I said, again, he can heal pretty fast. And we find out that Basher didn't die, actually. No, he did die. I'm sorry. That Basher did die, and that Mako and Hellraiser are in jail, and are in intensive care due to Super Patriot's attack. So he didn't get them killed because, Dragon kind of interfered in that. Frank tells Dragon that one of the freaks that killed Fred, named oh Lord, I can't read that. What did I say? Skullface. I'm sorry. Sorry, all listeners. My notes are a little messed up. So he tells Dragon that one of the freaks that killed Fred was named Skullface, is free due to a technicality, but another freak called Hardware is still in custody due to threatening Dragon. So then we cut, really don't know why I wrote that down for, but okay. So we cut to Skyscraper, where a hooded man is yelling at cyber data personnel about Super Patriot. And he's basically telling them, like, look, he's like, he was supposed to kill all 3 of the Super Freaks and Dragon. He's like, you failed your job. You failed me. And we find out that this person that is yelling at cyber data is someone by the name of Overlord. And you find out that he is, I guess he's kind of the big boss. Kind of, I guess he might be over the Vicious Circle. I'm not 100% sure. Again, like I said, I've only read.
I think so. The way they're presenting it.
I think, yeah. And see, the ongoing series, I've only read up to 4 issues of it, so I'm not for sure about that. But that's how I took it, that he was like the leader of the Vicious Circle.
It's kind of like that Lord Zed Skeletor intro.
Yeah, and he looks kind of Dr. Doomish.
Yeah.
In a way. But I like the way his look is, yeah, for sure. So Dragon's getting dressed, and he's about to leave the hospital when Amanda Mills shows up to thank you for saving her life from the hostage situation that we saw back in issue 1. Again, somebody just farting with Dragon again. He getting all the ladies, man. She says that there must be something I can do to say thank you for saving my life. And they're kind of looking at each other or whatever. And then they get interrupted by the nurse who's coming in to check on Dragon and telling him that she was so scared that he might die. I'm like, damn, Dragon, you got all the women like worrying about you and caring about you. I'm like, damn, dude, like cut down the pheromones.
Hey, it happens to the best of us, all right?
Damn. But so as he leaves the hospital, the media is holding a press conference asking him all kinds of different questions about him, who he is, where he's from. And some even ask him, like, dude, how can we trust you when we don't know anything about you? You just showed up not long ago and, you know, yeah, you're a cop, but you're a freak. You're, you know, I guess anybody that's not human is considered a super freak, I guess. And they're just like, you know how the media is, man. They're just trying to spin shit. They're just like, yeah, maybe he's a bad guy too. Maybe he's infiltrating the cops to bring them down and he's working for the bad guys and blah, 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 you know. And Dragon just gets pissed off and he's basically like, fuck it. I'm walking off. I ain't got time for this shit. I'm, you know, and this is something too that kind of struck me. Was Larsen wrote in here that one of the reporters even actually asked Dragon, he's like, hey, how do we know that you're not a murderer or you're not a thief or you're not even a child molester? I'm like, what the hell, Erik Larsen?
I mean, got a point. You don't know.
I'm like, damn. So, but at that point, Dragon's pissed off. But like I said earlier, he's like, fuck it. I'm leaving. I ain't got time for this shit. I just got out of the hospital. I almost died. I ain't dealing with it. And I'll be damned, he's going through kind of like going to like a park or whatever. And, he gets jumped by another super person. And, they get into this big fight. And you find out that it's a character named Bedrock. And he's a member of Youngblood. And I thought this was really cool because, when I went to Free Comic Book Day, I talked to one of the guys up there and I was mentioning that. And he said the reason that Youngblood was in Dragon, I think it was mentioned in your first issue of Spawn.
Yeah.
And it might, I don't know if it was mentioned in my first issue of Wildcats or not, but he said that they were trying to get Youngblood as like a main focus for Image. That's why they were trying to introduce him into all these different books. But because of deadlines, Spawn got out there kind of ahead of everybody. And
Jim Lee.
I don't know if he had anything to do with Youngblood or not. But according to this guy who works at the comic shop, he said because of deadlines, Spawn got out of front of most of this stuff, and that's how he was more considered the face of Image when it really wasn't supposed to be that. Supposedly, according to this gentleman, it was supposed to be in Youngblood. I'm like, okay, sure. But I think it worked out better.
I don't know if I buy that from all this Tom McFarlane interviews I've listened to.
Yeah, again, this is another fan just tell me his personal, you know what I'm saying? So I just took it because I have no idea. I didn't research it. But what is really cool, and I will say this real fast, you find I think it mentioned it. I'm not for sure if it mentioned your Spawn or not. But Chapel was a member of Youngblood at this time.
I don't remember.
Yeah, because he pops up either in one of my Wildcats issues that I've read or something, but Chapel was a member of Youngblood, which is technically a government hero team. So,
okay.
Yeah. So Dragon can't catch a damn break. He gets attacked by Bedrock, a member of Youngblood, which again is a hero group. They're a good guy group. And this is funny. So we cut to New York City because again, Dragon takes place in Chicago. So we cut to New York City and two kids are watching television through a storefront. And, I don't know if this is something that's still around now or not, but listeners, back in when I was a kid and even before that, used to storefronts would have TVs in the big glass windows and they'd be playing. You could stand outside of the store and watch TV that way. You've seen it in movies. You've seen it in TV shows. So you know what I'm talking about. So we cut to New York City. Two kids are watching TV that way through a storefront and they're actually watching Dragon and Bedrock fight on television. And this is funny because again, here we go, connecting some image characters. As the kids are talking, they're like, oh, this dragon guy, he's really cool. It's like, oh, I bet he could whoop anybody's ass or whatever. And we get a Spawn cameo.
Yes.
In his trench coat and his little hat, walk by.
Looking like a Ninja Turtle.
Kind of looking like a Ninja Turtle. And he walks by and he's just like, fucking dragon. You know, he couldn't whoop me, you know. And I'm like, all right, we got it. We're connecting, trying to do a little connection here now, you know. Now whether Wildcats connects with Dragon, I don't know. I don't know if that ever happens or not.
It threw me for a loop. I'm like, that's fucking Spawn.
Yeah, it did me too. When I first read this, I'm like, what the hell? So yeah, then we cut back to the fight between Dragon and Bedrock, and they go into a lake, and Dragon's like, I hope you can swim. And then Dragon's like, oh fuck, he can't swim. He is made of rock. So he starts sinking. So Dragon jumps back into the lake, and he helps get Bedrock out of the water. Unfortunately, they're fucking fighting in the water. Bedrock's they're still fighting each other. They get out, and they see an elderly, and then you cut to see an elderly woman watching TV, and she recognizes Dragon, and she's like, oh my God, it's him. It's my Rodney. I'm like, Rodney? Nah, Dragon's a better name than Rodney. I was like, okay. So yeah, I again, listeners, I don't know where this goes. I ain't read much Dragon yet. We'll see who this lady is. Maybe she's a adopted mama or something. I don't know.
So at the point that you're reading that, he still hasn't got his memories back?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
And I think he does eventually, but I don't want to spoil that because I did read a little bit about it. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But at some point, he will get his memories back. I just don't know when.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So then I thought this was funny. So then we find out that Bedrock, he did all this. He jumped Dragon. He fought Dragon and everything just to test Dragon to see if he was tough enough to join Youngblood.
Mm.
Dragon punches him hard, and he said that is the stupidest thing I have ever heard in my life. He's like, why would you do that? And he's like, this is cool too. Bedrock looks at me, he's like, hey man, it happens in Marvel Comics all the time. And Dragon's like, you're an idiot. Why would you do this?
Yep.
He's like, I'm not joining your fucking team. He's like, no. So Dragon arrests him, and he's like, why are you arresting me? He's like, why? Well, you attacked an officer, you disturbed the peace, disorderly conduct. So Dragon arrests Bedrock, and then you see that he's later bailed out by two other members of Youngblood. And later that night, we cut to Frank, and he's home, and he just gets woken up from asleep from a phone call. And we find out that the phone call is from Skullface, who we heard earlier that Frank told Dragon had got out of jail on a technicality. We don't know what that technicality was. But so he gets a call from Skullface. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, you get this cop's number. I'm like, interesting. Okay. And Skullface is telling Frank, he says, hey, he says, I know you're the one that tipped the freaks off that Fred had some money at that warehouse to go steal it. And he's like, I know that you are responsible for your cousin's death, that this was like an inside job. And he tells him, he says that what you're going to do is, He says that we own you. You belong to the vicious circle now, and we might be calling on you at a later time. So make sure you pick up that telephone when we call, Frank. we might need some police assistance, Frank, because we got your ass in a blackmail situation right now. Basically, after that happens, he hangs up the phone, and Overlord is standing behind Skullface, and Overlord basically says what I just said. He says that Frank belongs to us, and he says that the Green Man is now history. To be continued.
Yeah.
Because this will continue, I think about a year later, into an ongoing series that like I said, I think it's still going now with at least 280 issues, I think, still, and I'm pretty sure it's still going. I don't think it's ended. I think it's still going.
So it's still behind Spawn, but pretty close.
Yeah. And again, take it with a grain of salt. This gentleman at the comic book store told me that after about issue 30 to 35, he said it kind of falls off. He says, no disrespect to Erik Larsen. He said he feels like Erik's just putting it out there to put it out there to make money. And I'm like, oh yeah, really? And he's like, that's how I personally feel. So I may only go up to 30 and stop. I don't know.
We should at least go to 35, see if he's right.
Yeah, I think we'll at least try to go to 35 or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I love this. First time reading it. What'd you think about it, man?
I was surprised I liked it as much as I did.
I'm glad you liked it. I was hoping you would be, yeah.
I'd say Behind Spawn is my favorite of the Image comics we've read. Of course, I'd always put Jim Lee last. But I like how adult it is, how mature it is. I like the art for the most part.
Yeah, like I said, I'm assuming till this day, Erik created, wrote, and draws this comic, as far as I know. Now, that may be wrong, but I think, according to one of our listeners, Vampiro, that's what he told us. He said that it is technically the longest-running creator-owned comic that does all that. So, and like I told you off mic, I picked up a couple issues of Cyberforce, another comic that they put out back then, because it connects with my Wildcats comic. All these guys kind of try to draw similar in a way. Larsen's is, I mean, you can see the uniqueness between Larsen and Lee and McFarlane, and Mark Silvestri, he did the Cyberforce comic, but you can definitely see a kind of cohesiveness between all the artists and stuff, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if that was intentional or if that's just how everybody drew in the 90s. I don't know.
Seems to be the style at the time.
Yeah, I guess it was. Yeah, I guess it was, because even other comics by other people like Witchblade and stuff like that kind of had that look as well. You know?
You look at Jim Lee's X-Men and everything else that came after that.
That is very true. That's very true. Yes, I guess it was just a 90s thing, I guess, everybody, because I opened up at first issue of Cyberforce. I'm like, Mark Silvestri, you drawing like Jim Lee a little bit, and you're drawing like Todd McFarlane a little bit. I'm like, okay, sure. So yeah, so I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. Yeah. I really am. I'm glad you liked it, man, for sure. I highly recommend it. I picked these up actually at a local store. I did not look up on my comic shop. I know some of the later issues of Dragon are ranging from $4 to $6 an issue. This mini series, I honestly don't know. I didn't look it up online. I picked them up for like $3 a piece at a local store. So
that seems to be the going price. So.
I think so. Yeah. I think, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right.
But, so yeah, do you have anything you want to add to your Dragon experience or anything like that?
No, I'm interested in exploring it more later, though.
Hell yeah. There is, I will say this real quick before we wrap up. In the ongoing series, in issue number 2, he does go to New York City and he teams up with the Turtles.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it continues in like the Turtles comic. I can't find any information about that, because it's like a one-shot issue, number 2. And then, like, by issue 3 or 4, he's back in Chicago. So I don't know if it continued in, because by 92, 93, was it still Mirage still putting the comics out for Turtles? Do you know?
We covered this in our Turtle episode.
Yeah, I know, man. My brain.
That was like 8 months ago.
Yeah, I know.
I want to say it was still Mirage, but I think it was the second series.
Oh, okay, because in the Dragon book, they all still have, like, all just red bandanas.
Yeah.
In the Dragon issue.
It might still be the first series. We'll do some. Actually, we might want to cover that one.
Yeah. It's a cool little love story. He goes and helps him out or whatever. So
yeah, I'd be down to cover that.
It's all yours. Dragon, today you earned your paycheck.
Do you really think that one of your puny prison cells can hold me? Don't you realize who I am?
Yeah, some clown in a metal suit who's going to jail.
Implement the plan.
So let's do a couple questions.
all right, let's do some questions.
All right. This comes in from Faith Smith.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, "Who is your favorite Disney princess and who is your favorite Disney villain?"
Oh Lord, Disney princess. I always kind of liked. I want to say I'm not a Disney. I'm gonna
All
kill.
right, and we're eliminating the Marvel girls and the Star Wars girls and all that stuff. Just
Oh, these are
straight up
legit Disney princesses.
Legit.
Yeah, from the old. I'm gonna go from the old animated films. Oh God, I'm gonna butcher these names because I can't remember them very well. Beauty and the Beast. Bella.
Belle.
Belle. Sorry, Belle. She would have been probably my favorite princess. Would you consider her a princess?
For this, we will.
Okay. See,
Yeah.
and villain, you said? I'd go Scar.
Scar's a good one.
I'll go with Scar. Always like, I mean, you got Jeremy Irons playing his voice, dude, and when he lets Mufasa go, I'm like, damn. I cried. What about you?
Scar's a really good one.
I know they're not all princesses, but for some reason, I always just kind of lump a lot of the female leads from those animated films as princesses.
And that's what we're going to do, too.
You know, like Ariel and stuff like that, even though she's not. I guess technically,
Her father is a king.
Oh,
right?
he is. Yeah, you
King
asked her. Okay, so
yeah.
she is. Yeah,
She is.
Yeah, she is.
I'm gonna go with Jasmine
Yeah, Jasmine would be cool. Yeah,
or Pocahontas. She's pretty cool too.
yeah, that's a good movie.
Villain, Scar is definitely up there. I might go Maleficent.
Maleficent would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like her,
for sure.
especially the Angelina Jolie version.
Yeah, they did 2 movies?
Mhm.
I only watched the first one. I really liked
First
it.
one was really good.
Yeah, I like that first one good.
Okay, second question comes in from Chris Kumo.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts and wishes for Wile E. Coyote?
Thoughts and wishes for Wile E. Coyote?
Yep.
What happened to Wile E?
What always happens to Wile E?
But he survives. Did he not survive something?
I mean, future hopes and goals.
Give up the Roadrunner, Wile E. You've been chasing the Roadrunner for like 60 years or maybe longer.
He's no quitter.
I get that. I understand that. But at some point, you just have to take your secondary job, which is going after the sheep, and maybe set that goal because the sheep are a little slower than what Roadrunner is.
Oh, so he's just a pick on the slow
Just
of
go
the
on.
week.
Well, look, granted, you got the dog you got to worry about in that situation.
That dog
but-
fucks him up, too.
Dude, I love that cartoon because they're buddies till they clock in, and they're buddies when they clock out. But Wile E., this is coming from Daniel. Give up on the Roadrunner, focus on the sheep, and get the dog a milk bone. Just distract him. Go for the sheep. I love Wile E. Coyote, man. Looney Tunes are amazing. I love them.
Yeah, they were. It sucks. It's so hard to find them.
Yeah, Max pulled them off, I think, off the streaming
did?
app completely.
Well, they were going to release another set
Okay.
because I think I posted that in the Discord. But
You might have, I forget, man. You might have.
yeah, I would say, Wiley, hey man, it's time to find you a girl.
Yeah.
Settle down, make you a Coyote family, and then make it a family activity to go chase down the Roadrunner. It'll be a great bonding experience.
Yeah, but see, I don't know though, man, because like them kids gonna get hurt.
Oh no,
Them kids gonna get hurt.
No.
Roadrunner's smart as hell. He's outwitted their dad for like 60 years.
It'll be funny if they're the ones that catch him,
would be
and then
funny.
Wiley comes in and screws it up.
It would be funny. It'd be funny. You have the kids or the wife catches them, and he just screws up because he's so damn jealous. He's like, well, he's like, I tried that trap back in 1935 and it didn't work.
Yeah, be like, I'm gonna let him loose, and I'll do the same thing.
That don't work.
No. All right, that does it for questions this week.
It does. Yep.
So if you want to reach us, you go to Geeks with Beard Pod on Facebook and Instagram. You can contact us, geekswithbeardspod at gmail.com. We have a Discord. The link will be in the description, and this time I'll make sure it works. Our friend Jeremy Peeve over at the Retrovanics podcast, he's like, hey, you may want to update your link. I'm like, oh, I'm new. And then you can also check us out on YouTube.
Yep.
Geeks with Beers. We do toy reviews, and our audio's on there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that's it.
Yeah, I think that's about it. When you're on that YouTube, man, hit that like button, subscribe, let us leave some messages about our toy reviews, what you like, what you don't like, what you would like for us to review toy-wise, and if we have it in our collections, because, me and Sean got a decent amount of toy collection, we'll try to review it for you if we've got it.
Yep. And also, if you can give us a good review on Spotify or Apple, we'd appreciate that.
For sure, yeah. We're on all those streaming apps. Yeah, definitely do Spotify. You can give us the 5 stars, please. Critique us, good or bad.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that will do it for this episode of the Geeks with Beard podcast. I'm Daniel, and that was Sean. And until next time, goodbye, everybody.
Up in the sky, look! It's a bird! It's a plane! It's...
Geeks with Beard. Podcast.